We got the Buffalo Bills taking on the Miami Dolphins in the AFC East Championship, people. Winner of this game wins this division. They clinched their spot in the playoffs. Meanwhile, the Dolphins already have their playoff spot secured, but Buffalo, though, not only do they need to win this game to win this division, but they need to win this game to solidify themselves as a playoff team, because if they lose and a couple of other things go left for them, they're going to find themselves out of the playoffs, and they might be one of the most talented teams to never make it into the playoffs with a potential loss. Now, the last time we saw the Bills and the Dolphins play, the Dolphins were coming off a 70-point performance against Denver, and they got absolutely took to the woodshed by the Buffalo Bills, and they got humbled in a big way. It was 48-20 in that thing. What has to happen differently for the Dolphins to turn this thing around? Because the Dolphins don't play well against good teams. Their best win was against the Dallas Cowboys. How did they beat Dallas? Well, their defense played great. And it might have been the best defensive performance that the Dolphins have had all season long against a great offense. You're going to need that same defense that showed up in your win against Dallas to show up in this game against the Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen has a lot of success against these Vic Fangio-style defenses. Vic Fangio, he's going to have to switch some things up. Josh Allen hasn't played great the last 2 weeks, but we know what Josh Allen does. In big games, this dude always shows up. The Dolphins offense is going to have to show up just as much as how this defense is going to show up. And this defense, they're now down their two top pass rushers. Bradley Chubb is done. Jalen Phillips got injured a couple of weeks ago on that Black Friday game against the New York Jets. So your secondary is going to have to be able to limit the amount of big plays that this Buffalo Bills passing attack is able to generate. How are you going to be able to guard against a Dalton Kincaid? Well, Javon Holland is there at safety. You now have Jalen Ramsey, who you didn't have the first time you went up against the Buffalo Bills. You got Xavier Howard. You're going to need those guys on the back end to have really big performances in this game. Jalen Ramsey should be able to match up pretty well against Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs is still one of the top receivers in the game, but he hasn't had the same level of success this season that we've seen him have the last couple of years in Buffalo. If you can take away the passing game and this becomes a game when Josh Allen's just running around and he's just picking up yardage with his legs, I think you can live with that. What you can't live with is Josh Allen shredding you down the field. You see, the Dolphins have a really good run defense. James Cook has been a revelation for the Buffalo Bills this season, and we saw what he did to the Dallas Cowboys. So you got to figure out a way to not only limit the big plays in the passing game if you're Miami, but you got to be able to stop this rushing attack of Buffalo. And when you stop this rushing attack of Buffalo, and you can get Buffalo in a situation where they just have to win this game throwing it with Josh Allen, okay, they still can win that way, but you got the opportunity to come away with turnovers. And the difference in Buffalo's offense playing at the level that they have been playing at the last month or so has been because not only them making that offensive coordinator change with Joe Brady, but it's because Joe Brady has put a lot more emphasis on having a balanced offense. Get Buffalo back in the situation where Josh Allen has to carry them to a win. Josh Allen, he can carry you to a win, but it won't be without a couple of mistakes along the way. And that's when this defense comes in. You should be able to force the Buffalo Bills in a situation where Josh Allen gives you the football a couple of times. And that's when your offense has to be able to take advantage of those points off turnovers. We know Josh Allen is going to turn the rock over in this game. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Because that's just the kind of player that Josh Allen is. This dude is a gunslinger. He's going to take a lot of chances. He has a really aggressive playing style. So make him pay for his aggressiveness. This Dolphins offense has to show up. I got more confidence in Miami's defense than I do the Dolphins offense. Anytime this team goes up against a great defense, they always no-show. They put up 70 points against the Denver Broncos, but they can't do that shit against a good team. They got embarrassed on the road against the Baltimore Ravens. And they're the second best team in the AFC right now based on record. And it didn't look like that last week. Anytime you get the 1 versus 2 seed in your conference, you would think that would be an instant classic. And it was an instant turnoff. The Miami Dolphins need this offense to at least be able to score 28 to 30 points. I'm sick and tired of Dolphins fans talking about how talented their offense is and how this is one of, if not the most explosive offense in the league. But yeah, I never see that shit anytime they go up against a great defense. Buffalo's defense is fantastic, even with all the injuries that they've had. And Von Miller, this dude has been a no-show this season. He was a healthy scratch last week, if I'm not mistaken. And yet they still played at a fantastic level with injuries to their star linebacker, Matt Milano. Injuries on the back end of the secondary. This offense needs to be able to score 28 points if they want to have a shot at winning this thing. Your defense, even with the injuries to your top pass rushers, they can keep you in this game. I trust Vic Fangio and what he is as a defensive coordinator, being the highest paid DC in the league, to be able to make the necessary tweaks and adjustments so Josh Allen doesn't put 48 on him like how he did when y'all last saw each other. Buffalo, what do you need to do to walk away with the victory in this game? Well, first of all, you need to do what you've been doing when you've been playing your best football, which is being balanced offensively, mixing the pass with the run. Miami is really good against the run, but we didn't see that last week against the Baltimore Ravens all too much, and they gave up a lot of big plays in the passing game. If you're the Buffalo Bills, you know what your big X factor is in this game? James Cook. And like I told y'all when they went up against the Dallas Cowboys, James Cook is going to be the X factor for you in this game because he's a mismatch for anybody that's lining up against him on that Dolphins defense. Their linebackers are not great in coverage. And they definitely aren't going to be able to guard a guy in James Cook that runs routes just as good as a wide receiver. James Cook's route running is the equivalent to the route running that you would get from a wide receiver 3. So not only do you need to get James Cook involved on the ground, but also get him involved in the passing game. And I don't mean by just throwing swings and screen passes to him. No, like have him running routes that involve him having to run downfield and having to ride up these linebackers or whoever is going to be a safety lining up against him. He's a major mismatch and a major nightmare for this Dolphins defense to have to game plan for. His speed, his explosiveness, and how dynamic he is with the ball in his hands is going to be a problem in itself. And on top of that, with his route running, nobody on the Dolphins is going to want to have to game plan for this. Nobody even wants to see this. That would be the worst case scenario. James Cook having another performance when he goes off against this Dolphins defense like he did against the Dallas Cowboys. The Dolphins don't have anybody capable of being able to cover this dude. If anything, if Josh Allen has one of those games where he kind of is a little bit too aggressive and he's turning the football over at a pretty high rate, or you can't get anything going on offense, you should run this offense through James Cook. James Cook is a good enough player where you can run this offense through him and you can still have a lot of success. Doesn't mean that you don't have to use Josh Allen at all, but it just means that when you can use James Cook, it takes a lot of time off the clock. You can run a ball control offense and you can put more pressure on that Dolphins offense of having to score points. Defensively, Sean McDermott already has the game plan against this offense because everybody seems to have the game plan against this offense. This offense only looks cutting edge when they're going against a terrible team. When they go up against a great defense, they struggle. Why do they struggle? Because they can't generate big plays downfield and because most of their offense is predicated on what they do after the catch. Buffalo is one of the best tackling teams in the NFL, just like how the Ravens were. So if you tackle well and you don't give up a lot of big plays over the top, you got the recipe to stop in this offense. Plus, their offensive line is banged up right now. And you got one of the best pass rushes in all of the NFL. You don't got Von Miller, but you got a lot of other guys who are more than capable of being able to get after the quarterback. And you're really deep on the defensive line. That's been one of the biggest strengths of your defense. Miami, the biggest issue for them, it seems like going into matchups like this always is how they match up front on the offensive line. And it always feels like they're at a disadvantage on that side. And like we saw against Baltimore, if you can limit the amount of big plays that they generate after the catch, you got the key to slowing down this offense. Tua Tagovailoa doesn't do anything special in these kinds of games. Last week against Baltimore, I saw this dude throw an interception before the 2-minute mark, and that's eventually when the game started to turn in Baltimore's favor, and they ran away with it. Force the Miami Dolphins to get so one-dimensional that They have no choice but to throw the football with Tua, and then you're going to be able to just completely neutralize this offense. For Miami's offense to be able to successfully be able to sustain efficiency, they got to run the football. And they are capable of being able to run the football. And the Bills, what can scare me in this game, I talked about how much of a matchup nightmare James Cook can be. Let's talk about Devon Achane. Devon Achane has been one of the best rookie running backs in the National Football League this year. This dude is probably the fastest running back in the game. And they already got another fast running back in Raheem Mostert. With Devon Achane or Devon Achane, you can get him the ball and, screen plays, halfback, you just got to find a way to get Devon Achane the ball. You give this guy the ball, and he has just a little bit of a crease, he's a threat to take it to the house any single time. I call him an ATM, an automatic touchdown machine, and that's what he is. And last week against Baltimore, they had a good amount of success when they went to him on the ground when Raheem Mostert wasn't able to suit up for this game, and I don't know why they went away from that. You see, the Dolphins, their offense has the ability to be balanced. It's just that Mike McDaniels, for some reason, he just doesn't care about running the football that much. He's just a pass-heavy guy. The Dolphins need to go heavy on running the football in this game with Devon Achane. The Bills got a pretty good run defense, but I don't know how they're going to be able to slow down a dude with this kind of game-changing speed. When you have somebody that has this kind of speed, it's really hard to stop, and it's really hard to try to find a way to prepare for it. Miami, what they don't do is what they should do, which is be more balanced. You don't have to try to beat everybody, trying to be Mike Leach, old air raid. Be balanced. Play complementary football. That's why you continue to lose to these great teams and why your offense underperforms, because everybody knows what you want to do. If I know what you want to do, try to get a lot of yak or try to generate some big plays downfield, then so do these other teams. These teams already have the game plan for being able to beat you, so throw something different at them. What would be something that could potentially get Buffalo's defense a little discombobulated would be your dedication to the run game. Go out there and run the football at least 15 times with Devon Achane. Now, he isn't the biggest guy, and you're definitely not going to run him up the middle a lot, but you definitely can get him going off the edge. Try to get some halfback stretches or try to get some zone runs to the outside going and try to mix things up. Just don't make it to the point where you're just so one-dimensional on offense because of play calling. Like the Buffalo Bills defensively, they never really have to do too much against you when they already know what's coming. And there's not a team that knows you better than a team that you have to play 2 times in the season. And the worst thing you would want to see if you're a Dolphins fan is having to play the Buffalo Bills in the playoffs. Imagine if you get the 2 seed and the Bills get in at the 7 seed. You have to see them in the first round again, potentially. You don't want that. That's a bad matchup. You need to win this game so you can clinch this division and win the AFC East. Now, Buffalo, a loss here potentially could end your season if the Steelers get a win against the Baltimore Ravens backups, which has a very good chance of happening. The team I'm going to take to win this game, I'm going to go with the Buffalo Bills. I can't trust the Miami Dolphins, bro. Like, if this offense was way more complimentary and they did a better job at running the football, and they were able to mix that in with the pass, they wouldn't have the problems that they have offensively in big games. Their problem is that they only care about throwing the football, and they don't put any emphasis on trying to throw anything else different at the defense, so the defense knows what's coming. If they can't run the football effectively with Devon Achane, I really feel they got a great chance at winning this game, but they're not, because that's not what the Dolphins are. And until they make that identity shift or that philosophy shift offensively, they're going to continue to struggle offensively when they go up against the best defenses in the National Football League. The Dolphins haven't put more than 22 points up against a great defense, and that was the Dallas Cowboys. That was it. They didn't do anything against the Philadelphia Eagles. They didn't do anything against the Kansas City Chiefs, and they barely did anything in their win against Dallas. And we know what happened against the Baltimore Ravens. They didn't do nothing. So I'm taking Buffalo. I just got more confidence in the Buffalo Bills in this game because you got Josh Allen, who is the better quarterback. You got Sean McDermott, who already has the game plan for stopping this Dolphins offense. And this is a Dolphins team that hasn't showed us anything but the fact that they're always going to lose and they're guaranteed to lose anytime they go up against a team that is remotely as good as what they are record-wise. And if the Dolphins had the toughest schedule in the NFL, they probably wouldn't even be a playoff team, or they probably would be a borderline playoff team. Like, this team has been fairly disappointing. You look at their record and you say, oh, they're a pretty good team, but I look at their wins, and you don't really have any wins that show how good of a team you truly are. You just have wins when you're putting up 70 points against the Denver Broncos. Kudos. You put 70 on the Denver Broncos, and then the following week, Buffalo drops 48 on you. I just can't trust Miami in this game. They just going to have to show me